In this video, you're going to learn how you can create your first DirectX 12 triangle that spins. In Visual Studio, first create an empty C++ project with a main.cpp file. Go to the project properties and set that we want to have a window-based application. First, we will just create an empty Windows window. Basically, what this code is doing is that it checks if the user presses the X button. If the user presses that button, the while loop will stop running and the program stops. The first thing we're gonna set up for DirectX 12 is the device, which is like a virtual representation of your graphics card. Then we're going to create a command queue, command allocator, and command list. The command list is a list that we add commands to each frame. So it can, for example, be command list draw cube, command list draw sphere. Then at the end of each frame, we call command queue execute command list, which will send all commands to the graphics card and execute them. The command allocator is just a memory where we store the commands. The next thing we're gonna create is the swap chain. The swap chain holds two images, one that the GPU is drawing to and one that is currently getting shown to the screen. So we will first draw to the first swap chain image. Then we will show that image to the monitor. Then we're gonna draw to the second swap chain image, because we cannot draw to the first image while it's getting shown to the monitor. Then we will show the second image to the monitor. Then we will go back to the first image and draw to it. Then show the first image to the monitor. And we will just continue switching back and forth between the two images. With our swap chain, we need to create two render target view descriptors. The descriptors hold some extra information about the swap chain images. The fence is used to synchronize the GPU and the CPU. For example, when we send our drawing commands to the GPU, we want to stop the CPU, so it's not overwriting any data that the GPU is using. The next thing we're gonna create is the root signature. In the root signature, we can, for example, set how many objects, buffers, and textures we're gonna have when we're drawing. For our rotating triangle, we will send in a 32-bit constant value that is gonna be the angle of the triangle. Next, we're gonna load in the vertex shader and pixel shader. So you will need to create a new file called shader.hlsl and paste this code. The VS main will run for every vertex in our triangle. It has some hard-coded position and colors for all the three corners. PS main will run for every pixel and interpolate the values from the vertex shader. Here in the constant buffer, we will receive the current angle of the triangle and use it in the vertex shader. Then we will create a graphics pipeline state, which holds a bunch of settings for when we draw. We will set which vertex and pixel shader that the graphics pipeline will use here. We will also set the blend state, rasterizer state, and depth stencil state settings. You can add those functions to the top of the main.cpp. The blend state is the setting on how we want the object we're drawing should blend with the previous drawn object. For example, if we want to get a transparency effect. The rasterizer state controls which areas should become pixels. We can, for example, make a wireframe where only the edges are drawn. The depth stencil state can control if we want an object to be see-through through a wall. Before our while loop, we can create a triangle angle variable that we increase each loop. Then in our while loop, we first want to reset our command allocator and command list, meaning that we clear all previous commands. Then we're gonna use a barrier that transitions the first swap chain image to go from present state to render target state. Barriers are used to tell the GPU how the resource is going to be used next. If the resource is in the wrong state, the program can crash, so it's important that the resource is in the right state for what we're gonna use it for. Then we're gonna get our render target that we're gonna use and clear it with a blue color. Then we're gonna choose which part of the screen we're gonna draw to with the viewport and scissors. In our case, we want to be able to draw to the whole screen. Then we set our render target, tell we want to draw with a triangle list, which root signature we're gonna use, and which pipeline state we're gonna use. Then we send in our current angle and we can finally draw our triangle. With the draw, we tell that we want to draw 3 vertices, and it's gonna run our vertex shader 3 times. The first time the index is gonna be 0, then it's gonna be 1, and then it's gonna be 2. Then we're gonna transition our render target to present state, close our command list, meaning that we are finished adding commands to it, start executing all the commands on the GPU, and present the image to the monitor. Then in the end, we will need to wait on the GPU to finish executing the commands with a fence. And now let's run it. All the code can be found in the description.